Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Ichigo becomes an Olympian god in Harem with Yasaka and Rias? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the FANFICLOVER 2017 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. Ichigo was sitting in front of his mother's grave, reflecting on the events of the war with Aizen and Iwich, along with three other women whom he loved. Shihoin, Yuichiro Anohana, and his cousin Kukaku Shiba. The three women thought he was just going to stare into space all day, but then he started to speak. Hi mom. I am sorry I have not been busy recently to say hello, but a lot has happened. First, we finally went to war with the bastards that were responsible for your death. I know what you're thinking, that it wasn't my job to go war, that it was dad's responsibility, but if you only knew the effect your death had on me, Karen and Yuzu, you'd understand why I had to be the one to do it, why I had to be the one to kill Aizen and Iwich. I did it for closure, Karen, Yuzu, and I needed closure after you died, especially me. Your death affected me a great deal more than I ever told anyone. After you died, my heart did not just break, it was shattered into a million pieces, and I blamed myself. For years, I was very standoffish to Dad, Karen and Yuzu, as well as my friends. I thought that staying away from everyone I cared for was fitting punishment for a murderer, and so that is what I did. It wasn't until 6 years after your death that I met a woman named Rukia Kichiki, who just so happened to be a soul reaper. She was charged by her superiors with helping the lost souls here in Karakura pass on to the afterlife. She helped me find the closure I needed, and shortly after that, I met more extremely talented and beautiful women who helped me even more, three of whom are sitting next to me, and I love them dearly. They each have personality traits like you. You and Dad always said you wanted me to marry a woman just like you. Well, guess what, I got three and would marry them all right now if not for the laws in Japan. The first woman is Kukaku Shiba. She is my cousin and Dad's niece. She is also a fireworks expert and all-around general badasses, just do not piss her off or she will light you up, and not in a good way. The second woman is Yuichiro Anohana. Before the war, she went by Retsu but took back her original name after the war, and in my opinion Yuichiro suits her better. Ichiro was the original Kenpachi and one of Soul Society's most ruthless killers, as well as being from the first generation of the 13. She is a major badass, and despite the fact that she very sweet and kind to my sisters and I, she will cut you in as many ways, as there are styles of swordsmanship, and her case that's 8,000, so she is one of the last people in this world that anyone would want to fuck with. Last but certainly not least, we have Yoruichi Shihoin, my teacher and one of the first women I fell head over heels for. She taught me Hakuta, Ho-Ho, and has started teaching me along with Kukaku and Yuichiro, but the latter is also teaching me the healing arts, mastering control over me and everything she knows about swordsmanship. Considering my growth rate, it shouldn't take me too long to master, and I'm already a master swordsmanship specialist, but learning some different styles can only help, right? Ichigo said, stopping to take a quick breath. Mom, the war was terrible, but the aftermath was worse. We lost so many people because of Aizen and Iwich selfishness and arrogance. I had more women than just these three. There was also Orihime, Rukia, Tatsuki, Ranjiku, Soifin, Tia Halibal, and Neliel Tuatershvink, but of them are now dead. Tia and Neliel, who defected in the early months of the war and somehow gained a Zanpakuto by merging their hollow Zanpakuto with and became Soul Reaper hollow hybrids like me instead of the other way around, thereby completely ridding themselves of their masks and holes, thus regaining their hearts. The two of them became immediate members of the 13, taking the captain's positions for squads 3 and 5 for the duration of the war only. The women I just mentioned did not get to enter the cycle of reincarnation because Aizen and Iwich used a combination of holy arrows and the Hejoku to render their souls inert, but they were not the only ones. Kigo and Mizuru were killed, followed by Kisuke, Tessai, Jinta, Renji, Hiyori, Yuichiro Kusajishi, the lieutenant of Squad 11. Iwich killed the head captain of the Gate 13 personally. Momo Hinamori, Toshiro Hitsujiya, Mayuri Kurisuchi, who I wasn't sorry about in the least, Jin Ichimaru, and Kanam Tausen, both of whom were still loyal to Soul Society and were working behind the scenes. 1,500 other Soul Reapers that I did not know and a member of the Royal Guard whose name was Tanjiro were also killed. What shocked me the most was what happened when I got to the battlefield. The Zanpakuto of all the fallen members of the Gate 13 were waiting for me and told me that their masters had ordered them to have me find them good homes. I agreed to let their spirits into my soul and place their bodies with the blades that their masters always had on them in a pocket dimension. Some of the Zanpakuto expressed a desire to speak with me after the war concerning their new masters, and I agreed. It was about this time that Orihime Shun came up to me and told me that per their master's final request, I was now their master. I was also told that her love for and desire to protect me was within the hairpins and fueled their resolve to honor Orihim's final wish and that I should wield them with the honor, dignity and pride expected of the man she loved. That last statement fueled my resolve to kill the bastards that took my lover from me, and heads would indeed be rolling. If the people that I cared about being murdered weren't bad enough, I found out Uryu and Raikin helped them do it. It was everything I could do not to fly into a blind rage and kill the four of them right then, but I knew that rage and anger only got you killed. The fact that my inner hollow, or as I recently found out after using and to forge him the true Zangetsu, was literally screaming for blood and vengeance wasn't helping. I had to calm him several times with the promise that he would soon get more blood than he could handle, to which I got an evil grin in return. Luckily the Soul King had enough sense to place himself and his palace in another dimension and just leave an empty city disk behind for myself and the royal guard to use. Ichigo said. Flashback. Well, which look, the clown actually followed us up here. Where is the Soul King Ichigo? Uryu asked with thinly veiled malice in his voice. As he noticed that Ichigo already had his release, so trying to steal it would do no good as that had to be done during the release. You will tell us what we wish to know. He ordered as he walked towards Ichigo with an evil smirk, projecting killing intent. As Soon stepped in front of Ichigo, he reached out to grab him by the neck, which turned out to be a mistake on his part. Ichigo moved and delivered an open palm thrust to his chest so hard he carved it in. The impact of the strike sent Uryu flying the entire length of the city disk and into the wall on the other side, leaving nothing but a bloody crater upon impact and Uryu's lifeless body within, as Raikin rushed over to check on his son, but found nothing but a lifeless husk. Oops. Hey Raikin. Your boy was a talented Quincy, now he's nothing but a skid mark, ironic isn't it? Oh how the mighty have fallen. Ichigo shouted in a mocking tone. Why you arrogant little brat. Raikin shouted and rushed Ichigo while firing a volley of over 1200 arrows at him. Arrogant huh? First you and Uryu help these bastards kill almost everyone I love and you have the nerve to call me arrogant. Open your eyes and look at the devastation that the four of you caused and undoubtedly will cause in the future if you are allowed to continue. All you are doing is catering to the selfish arrogance of two ignorant fools that should have been dead long ago, and you are doing it all for the sake of vengeance. Are you even thinking about the millions of innocent lives that are being harmed because of the actions you have wrought? The answer is no. The four of you, well three of you now, are only thinking of yourselves just as you always have. The human world has over 6 billion innocent lives, all of which will end if this is allowed to continue, and I for one, do not want that much innocent blood on my hands. However, tell you what, I will settle for the blood of 4 selfish idiots instead. Ichigo said as he vanished in a burst of speed that no one could follow and cut off Raikin's head a second later, being showered in his blood. Covered in Raikin's blood he walked toward Aizen and Iwich, both of whom had smirks on their faces. Ichibe, stand down, these two are mine. Ichigo told the captain of the royal guard. Ichibe just looked at Ichigo incredulously and said, Ichigo, you just got your true Zanpakuto and awakened your true power, you have not even had time to truly master your Zanpakuto, and now you tell me to stand down? I don't. That was as far as he got when Ichigo interrupted him. Ichibe. Look at me and tell me what you sense. Ichigo said. Ichibe did not need to speak, for Ichigo was already telling everyone the answer. You can sense nothing because either you believe that I have nothing like Aizen did in our first fight 8 months ago, or that my level is so high it cannot be read. The truth is that both of those assumptions are wrong. The reason you cannot sense my is that I am suppressing it. You see, in the 8 months since my first battle with Aizen, I not only regained my powers, but also learned to control them fully. I have also been trained in Hakuda, Hoho, Kido and Zenjutsu. I am far from mastering the last two, but I have learned enough to fully mask my energy signature. That being said, allow me to show you that neither Aizen or Iwich have any chance at defeating me. Ichigo said as he flared his to dizzying height so much that bolts of what looked like black lightning were dancing around him, and then it all just disappeared. Even the Soul Reapers down in the felt what was going on, or in this case didn't feel. Just then, the eyes of Iwich and Aizen went wide as Ichigo stalked towards them ever so slowly. The intent to kill could be seen in the glare that was his glowing blue eyes. Ichigo was surprisingly calm as he walked toward them. Every step he took had an almost lethal grace to it, as if it had been practiced, almost as if he was waiting for the fools in front of him to run. He got his wish, as Aizen was the first to flee. Ichigo appeared in front of him as Aizen began to chant Limit of the Thousands hands, respectful hands, unable to touch the darkness. Shooting hands unable to reflect the blue sky. The road that basks in light, the wind that ignited the embers, time that gathers when both are together, there is no need to hesitate, obey my orders. Lights, bullets, 8 bodies, 9 items, Book of Heaven, Disease Treasure, Great Wheel, Grey Fortress Tower. Aim far away, scatter brightly and cleanly when fired. Hado 91 Senju Koten Taiho. Seeping crest of turbidity. Arrogant vessel of lunacy. Boil forth and deny. Grow numb and flicker. Disrupt sleep. Crawling queen of iron. Eternally self-destructing doll of mud. Unite. Repulse. Fill with soil and know your own powerlessness. Heido 90 Kurohitsugi. Allow me to help you, Aizen, Iwich said. A silver rod strikes the 5-fingered stone bed grits. As a silver box enclosed around that Aizen just cast. What will that do? Aizen asked. It will enclose those you just cast and keep the explosion from dissipating as quickly so Ichigo takes the full brunt of it, and when they finally do dissipate, I can take his power, then we can kill him. Iwich said. The two of them were so busy patting themselves on the back that they failed to notice a white blade sticking out of Iwich's construct, and then they heard a sound that was akin to a stone wall being blasted apart. In the midst of that destruction there stood Ichigo Kurosaki Shiba without a mark on him. What's wrong, guys? You look like you've seen a ghost. Ichigo asked in a mocking tone with a shit-eating grin on his face. By the way, which I heard your monologue from within the box, you cannot take my power as I have to freely and willingly give it to you. Sound familiar? Ichigo said. Yes, it sounds a lot like my soul distribution ability. He replied. Correct. Ichigo said. I notice your blade is now white with black in the center. Care to explain, Ichigo Kurosaki? Aizen said. When I forged my true I discovered that the old man I believed was my Zanpakuto spirit was in reality the manifestation of my Quincy powers and a reflection of how Iwich looked 1000 years ago. During the forging, my Quincy spirit decided that instead of fading away as he had originally intended, he would fuse with my Hollow, who was actually my true Zanpakuto, thereby creating a that was a perfect fusion of Hollow, Shinigami, Quincy powers in one blade. As a result, I have full access to all my powers and abilities simultaneously, as well as being able to take comfort in the knowledge that my soul is completely protected from yours and Iwich's influence. Ichigo said, causing the royal guard to look at him with their jaws on the floor. So now that show and tell is over, it's time for you two to die. Ichigo said. About that time the Heijyoku as well as Kyoka Suigetsu had given themselves to Ichigo unbeknownst to Aizen himself. He finally realized it when he tried to release his blade, only to have it fly out of his hands and into the sheath on Ichigo's left hip. Aizen knew he was in trouble when he heard Ichigo say Zenjutsu technique number 1. Natajiri. Moreover, performed a perfect vertical bisection of Aizen. Iwich knew he was in trouble when Ichigo turned to face him, and he saw an ominous-looking blue orb in Ichigo's chest. He tried to flee. Gitsuga Tenshu. Ichigo said. Only to have Iwich block it with a defensive technique. So you finally decided to use Blut v Nanhaben, huh? Ichigo said. You know about Ichigo Kurosaki? Iwich said almost questioningly. Yes, I do. I also know about your other techniques and how to counter them. Ichigo said. Oh really, and how is that? Iwich asked. Tell the Soul King he can have the royal realm back, Ichibe. Ichigo said. It's really quite simple, Iwich, like this. Ichigo said as he lunged at Iwich, grabbing his face and forcing him out of the city before launching down towards the Sirte with nothing more than brute strength. The pressure was so great that Iwich could not right himself. He was hurtling towards the Sirte at incredible speeds, and he noticed that he was harmlessly passing through the barriers that protect the royal realm. He realized that if he could harness that power he could go in and out of the Soul King Palace at his leisure, but alas, much to his displeasure, he could not absorb the power. Just then he made impact with the ground. The crater that his impact created garnered a lot of attention, particularly from Soul Reaper captains that wanted their shot at killing him. As they all stalked up to him, blades at the ready, Ichigo arrived and said, "Don't touch him, he's mine." As he released killing intent, most of the captains backed off except Kenpachi. "Don't do it, Kenpachi," Ichigo said. "He killed my daughter, Ichigo," he said. "I got you to beat Kenpachi. He killed my mother, my lovers, and most of my friends back home," Ichigo replied. "How many Quincy's are left down here?" Ichigo asked. "Just him and the few we captured, the rest are dead," Kairaku said. "Good. Bring them here so they can watch their leader die before going to prison," Ichigo said. The impact with the ground had done a lot of damage to Iwich, and Ichigo knew it as he was grinning from ear to ear, and so was Iwich when he found out Ichigo was bring the Quincy's here. The grin did not go unnoticed by Ichigo. When the other Quincy's arrived, they saw that Iwich was in a bad way, and to be perfectly honest, they could not be happier. "Ichigo Kurosaki, we have heard that you intend to kill our former king," the one called Candace Catnip said. "Indeed I do. Do you have any objection to this?" Ichigo asked. "No, we do not. He has treated Quincy as if they were tools over the years. My compatriots and I have also heard what he did to your mother and the effect it had on you. Even more recently what he and Aizen did to your friends and loved ones. For all this we would very much like to see him dead," she said, "but just make it quick. Watching you kill him slowly and hearing the coward scream would be more than my ears could take." "Very well," Ichigo said. In a burst of speed faster than Iwich could react, Ichigo sliced him into over 1000 pieces and then used a Zero to incinerate the body. And after the deed was done was when everyone took notice of Ichigo. They realized that he had taken possession of the Hijoku and Kyoka Suigetsu. Ichigo-kun, where did you get the Hijoku and Kyoka Suigetsu? Captain Kairaku asked. They came to me just before I killed Aizen, and don't ask me why I haven't figured that out yet. I will let you know when I do. Ichigo replied. That won't be necessary for Ichigo-kun. You are to turn them over now. Kairaku said. Who the hell do you think you are? I take orders from no one, least of all you. You may request they be relinquished, but whether or not I do so is completely up to me. Kisukirahara is the only person I would have trusted with them, and since he is dead, I will not be granting your request. I guess that means you're shit out of luck, doesn't it? Ichigo said. Unohana and Yoruichi were standing ready to help Ichigo if needed and to get the Quincy's out if needed when all hell broke loose. The captains attacked Ichigo with their lieutenants, even the Vizards attacked, all in an effort to get the two articles that started the war away from Ichigo, even if they had to kill him to do it. What they seemed to forget about in the heat of the moment is that Ichigo still had his release. To say the fight was short would be an understatement. It lasted all of about 45 seconds. Yoruichi, Retsu, take the Quincy's and get to the meeting point. I'll be right behind you. Ichigo said. Ichigo, what are you doing? Yuki-take asked. Simple, since you can no longer be trusted, I am taking the Hijoku, Kyoka Suigetsu, and the Quincy prisoners, and leaving the Soul Society, and Yoruichi and Retsu, or Yuichiro as she prefers to be called, are coming with me. Ichigo said. You can't do that. Shinji yelled. The hell I can't. After what you've just tried to do, all our fallen comrades would be ashamed of you, especially Hiyori. Ichigo said, as Shinji and other Vizards just looked away, eyes full of shame. So did the other captains. You can leave, Ichigo, but we will find you. Kairaku said. No, you won't. Ichigo said as sealed his, completely suppressed him and vanished in a blur of dot. To say that everyone was surprised at the level of control Ichigo now possessed would be the biggest understatement of the year. Why did you do that, Kairaku? Yuki-take yelled. We both know that Ichigo is no more a threat to the Soul Society than a housefly, but what you just did made us a threat to him. As powerful as he is, what would you do if he comes back here with his own army and decides that we're the threat? That's true, Jashiro, but I don't think he will. If anything, he, Yoruichi, and Unohana will return to help us in the future. Kairaku said. Why would they do that? Why would they after what we just tried to do? Byakuya asked. Because we'll need them too. You know as well as I that Ichigo isn't one to turn his back on anyone who needs help, regardless of how he feels. That isn't who he is. Kairaku said. Besides, it's not like we could do anything to him now anyway, and if we tried, all we'd be doing is starting another war. We have no hope of winning. Ichigo is the kind of person that would go into hell itself for the sake of those he loves. He's done it before and won. Do you really think we would have a prayer of winning a fight against a monster like that? The only thing we can do now is hope he will aid us again if we need him to. Flashback end. Ichigo Pav. Well, Mom, the aftermath was no better as I was left with the unenviable task of telling our friends that Tatsuki, Orihime, and Kigo were dead. Ichigo said. Flashback start. Mizuru, can you and the rest of our friends meet me at the Urahara shop and bring Tatsuki's parents and Kigo's sister with you? I have something to tell you guys and it isn't good. Ichigo said. Okay, Ichigo will be there. Mizuru said. Ichigo, Yoruichi, Kukaku, Yuichiro and the Quincy's arrived at the Urahara shop and promptly asked Yururu to prepare some tea as they had several guests coming. Fortunately for Ichigo, Kisuke had stated in his will that in the event of his death all his assets including research, the shop and money would go to Ichigo and Yoruichi. Those two were the only two people in Karakura that he thought of as family, considering them to be the little brother and older sister he never had. Tessai had done the same with regards to Yururu since he thought of her as a daughter, with the condition that Ichigo and Yoruichi adopt her and take her with them should they decide to leave town, which they didn't have a problem with. 45 minutes after he called Mizuru, everyone arrived at the shop and Ichigo began the grim task of informing them of their friends and family members. Please come and sit down. What I have to tell you isn't easy for me, nor will it be easy for you to hear. He said. Wait, am I new to Ichigo? We should wait for Kigo, Tatsuki, Uryu, and Orihime. Mahana said. I'm afraid that is why all of you are here. They will not be joining us. Ichigo said. Why? Chizuru asked. Because they are dead, Chizuru. Ichigo said. Uryu killed them. That's not possible. Uryu wouldn't do that to our friends. You're just saying that because you never liked him. Ryo said. If only that were true, Ryo. Ichigo replied. Uryu was like a brother to me, but he changed and both he and his father allowed a man named Iwich to manipulate them and then helped him kill our friends. I should know. I saw their bodies. Some of you will be getting a call shortly. Ichigo said. How? Tatsuki's mother said in shock as her husband was consoling her. Ichigo told them everything about 1 year ago until now. How Aizen targeted them because Ichigo cared for them, about how if Ichigo didn't fight the Karakura, if not the world wouldn't be here now, but none of it made any difference. They blamed him for everything. Enough. I didn't call all of you here to listen to you blame me for the murder of our friends and loved ones. I came here to tell you because you had a right to know. I could have just kept my mouth shut and kept you guessing, but I chose the honorable route and decided to tell you because they would have wanted you to know. Ichigo screamed, I'm hurting just as much as the rest of you. I lost 2 women whom I loved dearly because of the selfishness and arrogance of 4 idiots. All of you think you have the right to come here and blame me for something I didn't do. You might not have done the deed, Ichigo, but you are just as responsible as the ones who did. Mahana shouted, I think it would be best if you and your family left town and not come back because you won't be welcome here. You have 1 week to get your affairs in order and we will be watching you. After that week, if you're still here, we will call the police and have you arrested for murder. I guess this is it. After all the years we've been friends, it ends like this with you abandoning me. We're just supposed to go our separate ways like we were never friends to begin with. Fine, I'll give you what you want and leave. However, know this, if anything that was said is repeated and my family's good name is slandered in any way, you will regret it. I will be coming back once a year to pay my respects to my mother's grave. If it is vandalized in any way, no force on earth or heaven will stop me from hunting you down and doing the same to you now. Ichigo said as he released killing intent on everyone in the room. Flashback end. As they were all walking down the street, Chizuru popped up and said, guys, I don't think what we did was fair to Ichigo. Granted, if he had told us of his activities beforehand we could have been better prepared, but we just betrayed someone we called our friend for years out of anger. How do that make us any better than the one truly responsible for the deaths of our loved ones? It's for the best, Chizuru. If Ichigo hadn't been fighting monsters and getting our friends involved, they would still be alive. I say good riddance and hope none of us ever see the bastard again. Mahana said. Back in the shop, Ichigo joins his lovers and Quincy in the back room. How did Ichigo go? Yoruichi asked. It didn't. They betrayed me, accused me of the murder of our friends, and said I had 1 week to get my affairs in order and leave town, or they would have me arrested for murder. Ichigo said, much to the shock of everyone there. Well then, I guess we better get going then. Fortunately, Kisuke modified the shop, including the training area below, to shrink down to the size of a small cardboard box with the push of a button. Yoruichi said as everyone spent the next 2 hours packaging everything else up in separate boxes and then finally shrinking the shop down and packing everything in Ichigo's GMC Yukon XL Denali that he got from Kisuke as a high school graduation present a few months ago and heading for his house. Kurosaki Clinic. Ichigo walked into his home and saw many people he didn't know, but more than that, he saw his mother standing talking to his father and sisters. Mom? How is this possible? I don't understand how you are here. Ichigo asked, giving her a teary-eyed hug. It's okay, Ichigo, your father and I will explain everything in detail later. Unfortunately, there isn't time to do it now. Everything about you and your heritage will be explained to you, your sisters and girlfriends, when we see you all in Kyoto. Masaki said. I'm guessing it has to do with the way all of these people are in our house. Ichigo replied. Yes it does, but first, how did it go at Kisuke's? His father asked. It didn't. People I thought were my friends abandoned me, they accused me of murder and told me I had a week to get my affairs in order and leave town or be arrested for murder. Ichigo said, shocking everyone who were all disappointed that his friends would show such disloyalty to someone so selfless. That suits me just fine, as I was planning on leaving anyway. I've already pulled the girls out of school and they are already packed and ready to leave with you. His father said. Now on to why your mother is here. First off, my name is not Is and it never was. I am Uranos, a Greek god and primordial deity of the sky, and your mother's name truly is Masaki, but only her human side was named Kurosaki. In reality, she is the daughter of Amaterasu, the Shinto goddess of the sun and moon, and Takami Musubi, Shinto primordial god of the sky and creation. His father Urano said. These are your grandparents, aunts and uncles. First on my side, we have your grandfather Abyss and grandmother Chaos, then your aunts and uncles Pontos, Nyx, Erebus, Himera, Aether, Acles, Auri, Kronos, Elpis, Aeon, and Ananke with her daughters, your cousins, though, or as we call them, the Fates. On your mother's side of the family, your grandparents Amaterasu and Takami Musubi, and your grand-uncle Tsukiyomi, as they were the only ones that could come and meet you and your sisters today. Urano said. Does this mean that Karen, Yuzu, and I are gods? Ichigo asked. No, Ichigo, because we were technically half-mortal ourselves when we had you. The three of you are demi-primordials, half-primordial, half-mortal. Up until now your mother and I were able to hide your scent from monsters, but since Aizen and Iwich messed up the barrier we had erected around town to keep you and the citizens safe, they will be coming, so the fact that you were told to leave is a good thing. Urano said. You, your sisters and your lovers will receive all of our full blessings to protect you and aid you on your journey, even young will receive our blessings, but you will have 2 stops to make first before you leave Japan, Ichigo. Amaterasu said. First you will go to Kuoh Academy in Kuoh Town, Japan, and speak to Surzich's Gremory, or as he called Surzich's Lucifer, but use Gremory in public. He is expecting you. He needs your help with something, and who knows, you might get a reward. His grandmother said with a devious wink. You will then go to Kyoto and speak to my servant. She has brought it to my attention that monsters are attacking the city and they need to be dealt with, and has said that after that is done she would like to retire. Yasaka has been the guardian of Kyoto for over 400 years and would like to spend more time with her young daughter Kunu, which I have granted, so when you are done take them with you to your next destination. Amaterasu said. Which is? Ichigo said. Long Island, New York, to a place called Camp Half-Blood is a place where you will be safe. His father said. Just a moment, Uranos. The Fate said in unison. There is another destiny that you must fulfill first. A child of the Big Three destined for a cruel fate at her father's hand must be saved by yours. We know that you already have an adopted daughter. Take this one into your house as well, train her and keep her safe. That is all we ask. The Fate said. How am I supposed to know who this person is? Ichigo asked. You will know, young one. You will meet them on your way to the camp, but you will live away from the camp for a few years to train them. When the time comes to reveal them, great changes will happen on Olympus, changes that you must help with. The Fate said. Ichigo, be warned. It is entirely possible that Surzich's will try and force you or your lovers to become his servant. Don't let him. His mother told him. You need not worry, Mom. I didn't let the Soul Society do it, I won't let him either. Ichigo said. I hope devils can be quite persuasive. She replied. Wait, devils? Ichigo exclaimed, shocked. Yes, son, devils. Devils, gods, angels, fallen angels, vampires, dragons are all real. Even the god and Lucifer from the Bible were real but have been dead for a long time. Hirano said. Alright, Ichigo, it is time to send you on your way. His mother said as she and the other gods started to chant in an obscure dialect that Ichigo didn't recognize. He noticed that he, his lovers, sisters and Yururu each began to glow a different color, but before he could ask, his father explained it to him. Ichigo, we each have given you our full blessing, and before you ask you already have knowledge on their use and what you can do. You will also meet up with other gods and goddesses on your journey that will bless you as well. One Greek goddess in particular you are destined to marry, but I will not divulge which one, as you will figure that out on your own. I will also tell you about your mother and I when we meet up in Kyoto, but for now Kuoh awaits you. Isin said, and with that, his father and the other gods and goddesses just disappeared. Well ladies, I guess the next stop is Kuoh Town. Ichigo said as they all walked towards his car. As Ichigo and his family were walking out of his family home with what remained of their belongings packed in boxes and loaded into the trailer that was hooked to the back of his car, he just happened to look up and saw most of his former friends except Mahana standing there, as if waiting for him to say something. What do you want? Ichigo asked coldly. You weren't thinking of leaving town without saying goodbye, were you? Mizuru said. Goodbyes are reserved for friends and loved ones, you're neither. Ichigo said with a hint of venom in his voice. Ichigo-kun, why didn't you tell us what Tatsuki-chan was doing, and why did you get her involved? Mrs. Arasawa said. Mrs. Arasawa, for one, I told her to tell you the fact that she ignored my advice and didn't mean she didn't want you knowing, and as her boyfriend that was a choice I was obligated to respect whether I agreed with it or not. 2. I did not get her involved, she involved herself when she allowed her own stubborn pride to get the better of her. Before you ask, I didn't try to stop her because I believed she could handle herself. I was wrong, and that is a mistake that I will have to live with in your betrayal. All you did was stick a knife in my heart and twist. My heart was already broken, you just chose to ignore it. I hope you're proud of yourself. Ichigo said as she reached out and gave him a hug. I am so sorry, Ichigo-kun. My husband and I know how much you cared for our daughter. We never should have doubted it, but we let Mahana's anger fuel our grief, and we are so very sorry that we hurt you. Thank you for telling us. You come back and visit us anytime you want. You will always be welcome in our home. She said. Mrs. Arasawa, do you think you could express my condolences to the Asano family for me? I think it's best I leave before Mahana finds another knife to stick in my back. Ichigo said. Ichigo, we are sorry for what Mahana said. She doesn't speak for all of us. I think she was just angry and let her emotions get the better of her. Ryo said. Ryo, I thank you for the apology, but what Mahana said still hurts, and it's not something that can be easily forgotten or forgiven. It also hurts to have the rest of you doubt me. I have never lied to any of you before. Did you honestly think I would start now? I wish I could turn back time and bring our friends back, but it would be fleeting, as it would just happen all over again, and I can't go through that again or put the rest of you through it a second time. Ichigo said. We know Ichigo just promised when you get settled you'll call so we can come visit. Mrs. Arisawa said. I will. He replied as he hugged her and told everyone goodbye and left. Time skipped 2 hours later. After a 2-hour-long drive Ichigo and company arrived in Kuoh town and their arrival did not go unnoticed. Pulling up to Kuoh Academy they were greeted by none other than the normally pink-clad magic girl Satan herself Seraph Leviathan, who was now wearing a green woman's business suit. Who are you and what are you doing here? She asked. My name is Ichigo Kurosaki Shiba. These are my sisters Karen and Yuzu, my daughter Yuru, and my lovers Kukaku Shiba, Yuichiro Anohana and Yoruichi Shihoin. And these are former Quincy's Candace Catnip, Mina's Macallan, Bambietta Bastardbean and Giselle Jewel Ichigo said. Ichigo Kurosaki.You defeated Aizen Sasuke 8 months ago. She said. You know about that? He said. There isn't a single member of the supernatural community that doesn't know about it. It was the single greatest battle since the war with the Quincy's 1000 years ago. You said former Quincy's, why is that? She said. There was another war with Aizen and the Quincy's that ended about a week ago. They are the survivors of that war and were instrumental in ending it as they turned on Iwich just before I killed him and Aizen for good. Ichigo said. Then Surziches will definitely want to see you, but I suggest you keep that information close to the vest when in public. Seraphil said. Oh, why is that? Ichigo replied. Because there are those that would seek to make you a servant of a peerage, and judging by how you carry yourself, I doubt you want that. Surziches himself is one such individual, and he may try to force it. She said. Well, if he does I'll just have to kick his ass then. Ichigo replied. She chuckled and said, you're strong kid, but not that strong. If you are judging me by simply what you sense now then that would be a fatal mistake on your part and his. My full power is 10 times greater than what you are sensing, and that is with my limiter. Without my limiter, it's almost 100 times greater, so I suggest you think before you brag about Lucifer's power. Ichigo said. Funny thing is she could detect no lies coming from him and knew he was telling the truth. She also knew that when Surziches found out he would try to make him a servant regardless of his wishes, which would end badly for Surziches. Principal's office Kuoh Academy. Surziches, Ichigo Kurosaki is here to see you. Seraphil said. Excellent, show him in. He replied. Ichigo Kurosaki, please sit down. Your grandmother has told me much about you, including some choice words about what would happen to me should I try to force servitude upon you, and I must say your record is very impressive. Surziches said. I wouldn't worry too much about my grandmother when it's me that you have to worry about. Ichigo said as he released just enough to make Surziches think twice about doing anything. Point taken, Ichigo, and before we go any further, who are the ladies you brought with you? He asked. The first two are my younger sisters Karen and Yuzu, then my lovers Kukaku, Yuichiro and Yoruichi, my daughter Yuru, and former members of the Quincy Army Candace Catnip, Mina's Macallan, Bambietta Bastardbean and Giselle Jewel. Ichigo said. Such lovely ladies, I don't suppose any of you would be interested in becoming part of a peerage. He said before being smacked on the head with a book. Ow. Grafia, what was that for? Surziches asked with mock anger. For flirting with another man's wife when you've got me already. She exclaimed. To answer your question, Lucifer-san, no, we wouldn't be interested in becoming part of a peerage. Anohana said with a smile and a rather creepy aura that said fuck with me and you die written all over it. Ichigo. Anohana-chan is quite scary. How do you deal with someone like that? Surziches asked. Oh, that's easy, she loves me, so I get a reprieve 99% of the time, unless I do something really stupid. Ichigo said. Since I'm here, my grandmother said there was something you needed help with and that I might get a reward out of it. Ichigo said. Yes, well, it's two things actually. The first is I want you to find some rather troublesome devils and bring them to me for punishment. Then next thing is I want you to be my sister's champion in her upcoming raiding game with her fiancé Riser Phoenix. When you complete those two tasks, not only will I pay you quite well, I will also give my sister's hand if you desire it. Surziches said. The money I will gladly take, however your sister's hand I will take only if she herself desires it. I will not force it upon her. My mother raised me to be a gentleman after all. Ichigo replied. Surziches looked at Yoruichi, Anohana, and Kukaku and asked, Ichigo, are you sure that was the proper thing to say in front of women that could easily match the power of a Satan-class devil? You needn't worry that Surziches-chan, Ichigo can have as many women as he likes, as long as he loves us all equally, so long as it's kept to a reasonable amount. I'd say no more than 6, 7 at most. Yoruichi said. Does that rule apply to you as well, Shihoin-san? He asked. No. But then it doesn't need to, as Ichigo is all the man I'll ever need. She replied with a grin. Who are these troublesome individuals you want me to find, and do you have any idea where they are? Ichigo asked. They are Kateria Leviathan, Visor, Diodora Astareth, Cruceria Asmodeus, Shalba Beelzebub and finally Rizavam Livan Lucifer, although I doubt you'll be able to find the last one, as he has been hiding for years, but if you can get the others that will be enough, but if you somehow manage to get all of them, I would be very happy. Surziches said. Where can I find them and how strong are they? Ichigo asked. What's wrong Ichigo, are you afraid of? Surziches taunted. Not at all. I'd just like to know what I'm walking into. Ichigo replied. All of them except Kateria, Crucery, Shalba and Rizavam are pretty weak compared to you. Their strength levels range from high-tier mid-class devils to high-tier high-class devils. The others range in strength from high-tier ultimate class to beyond that which we call a super devil. Surziches said, compared to you though I'd say you wouldn't have to use more than 35% of your maximum 50% at most. Here is a map to where we are located, but Rizavam is another matter entirely. You will actually have to hunt him down, as no one knows where he is, and I suggest you be careful with him. Rizavam is what we call a super devil. His powers go beyond ultimate class. You might actually have to try with that one, so do not underestimate him. About this raiding game of yours, when does that take place and are there any rules I need to know about? Ichigo asked. No, there are no rules. You fight till you are incapacitated or your opponent is dead. It takes place in 3 months, but there is treaty signing between the 3 factions in 2 months' time, so I need those troublesome devils found. You may use any methods that you wish to locate them. As far as delivery is concerned, they can be alive or dead, the choice is yours, as long as they're out of my hair. Surziches said. Very well then, I'll be going. Is there anywhere I can rent a home for the time that I am here? Ichigo asked. Don't bother. I own a hotel here in town, and I've taken the liberty of booking you in the penthouse suite. It is quite large and has enough room for all of you. Surziches said. Thanks Surziches, I'll leave now to go check into the hotel and start my job. I think I should have it done in a few weeks, so you need not worry. Ichigo said. Time skip 45 minutes later. Okay guys, I'm off. I'll keep in touch through Graphia. Ichigo said. Wait, Ichigo, we're coming with you. Kukaku said. No, you're not. Not this time anyway. Ichigo said. Why? You're not trying to protect us, are you? Anohana asked as she put her arms around Ichigo, a passion-filled kiss. No. If anything, I'm protecting the underworld from you three. Kami knows they need it. However, the real reason you're staying here is because there is a real chance that every supernatural being in Kuoh and the underworld knows we're here and need to make sure that Yururu and my sisters are protected, and with the 3 of you here, I know that they will be. If all goes well, I'll see you in a few days if not a few weeks. Ichigo said. Iruchi, Kukaku and Anohana each gave him a kiss, and Yururu, Karen and Yuzu gave him a hug and told him to be careful on his trip and watched him leave. 1 hour later. Graphia, I want you to do something for me while I'm gone. Ichigo said. What would that be? She asked. Check in on them from time to time and ensure that they have everything they need and keep annoyances like your husband away from them. I don't want to come back and find that they were forced into a peerage against their will. Ichigo said. Graphia read between the lines on that last statement and knew he meant it as a threat. I will do my best, Ichigo-san. She replied as she transported them to the underworld. Here, takes this. It is a card that you can use to summon me when you've completed your task. She said. Thanks Graphia. If the information that your husband gave me is correct, then it shouldn't take me that long. Ichigo said as he took out a card that Surziches gave him. That card was a map that projected a map of the underworld with something akin to a hologram. Ichigo-san, you will need to go to territory that is controlled by the old Satan faction, which would be here. She said as she pointed to a place on the map. This card has the ability to mark teleportation points, or as you call them waypoints. Just point to where you want to go and double tap, the card will teleport you there. However, since where you are going is old Satan faction and Chaos Brigade territory, I suggest you teleport to this location as it is out of the way and secluded. She said as she pointed to another location that was a mile away from the actual destination. Thanks Graphia, I'll do that. Tell Surziches I'll be back soon as this shouldn't take long. Ichigo said as Graphia nodded and vanished in a teleportation circle. After taking it slow for about a week to avoid attracting unwanted attention, Ichigo had teleported about 5 miles from his target destination in order to shake off the ones that were following him, all the while keeping his energy suppressed. He had stopped in an empty cave to take a short break in order to look over the information that Surziches had given him. Well, let's take a look at the info that Bonehead gave me. He thought Kateria Leviathan Ultimate Class Devil, and from the look of this picture quite beautiful. Her stats are excellent, her intelligence is on par with Kisuke's. I am impressed, it should be a decent challenge. Stray Devil also quite beautiful on second thought. No, she is not, strength level SS class. Not too much trouble from that one. Diodora Astareth from the Astareth clan of the 72 Pillars High Class Devil. It says here that he has a tendency to force nuns into his peerage and physically abuse them just so he can break them, oh just for that this guy dies first. Crucerius Modius ultimate class devil against stats and intelligence are both excellent looks kind of like Iwich, though an arrogant prick all the way. Shalba Beelzebub is the same as the last guy, but kind of looks like Aizen. Finally, Rizavum Live and Lucifer classification. Super Devil should be avoided by all but the most experienced fighters. Strength level. Low med level god class combatant son of the original Lucifer. If I can find this guy I'll take him out last. Ichigo said as he got ready to move out. Ichigo's hotel penthouse suite in Kuoh. Iruchi and the girls were just about to sit down to lunch when they heard a knock at the door. Knock. 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 Coming. Just a minute. Iruchi said. As she got there and opened the door, she saw a handsome young man standing there with his foot in the doorframe to block the door's closure. Iruchi laughed inwardly when she saw what he was doing as she thought it was cute. I can tell by the feel of his energy that he's a devil, high class at least. I wonder what he's doing here as if it isn't easy to figure out. She thought. Can I help you? She asked. Why yes you can. My name is Riser Phoenix and I want you in my peerage and before you say no, I will have you by any means necessary because I always get what I want. He said. There it is. Seraphil warned us this could happen. She thought. Well Riser Phoenix you may get what you want most of the time, but not this time. I decline your offer as my fiancé and I have already informed Lucifer-sama that we would not be joining anyone's peerage. Now I suggest you move your foot or I will rip it off. She said releasing enough Kai to make Byakuya Kichiki shit himself. Riser knew at that instant that he was no match for her, but he had to have her, so he hatched a plan. He knew that if he used the speed in Phoenix Tears his family was famous for she wouldn't stand a chance or so he thought. Tell you what I miss. I will leave you as well as your family alone if you can beat me in a duel. Riser said. Iruchi grabbed him by the, hoisted him off the ground and said, you will leave us alone regardless you ignorant little worm. I was informed of the laws passed by your government and they state that a forced resurrection can only take place if the individual being resurrected is either dead or close to death and any other time resurrection must be willingly allowed. You asked and I gave you my answer now get lost or I will send you back to your perch in pieces. If you ever come near me or anyone I care about ever again I will kill you. She said her body and eyes started to take on a faint white glow. Iruchi dropped the ignorant boy, watched as he ran for his life and went back to lunch. Iruchi ate lunch with her family and then called Surziches. Surziches about 30 minutes ago an arrogant little brat showed up here and tried to force his way into my room and me into his peerage. When I said no he then tried to challenge me to a duel and said that if I won he would leave me alone. Suffice to say I threatened him with something very unpleasant. She said. What was his name? Surziches asked. His name is Riser Phoenix. She replied. Surziches face palmed before answering. Iruchi you shouldn't have done that. He is nobility in the underworld and member of the 72 pillars, his family may try to force you as punishment for your actions. If that happens Surziches then you can explain to them why it would be a very bad idea or you can explain to the 72 pillars why my fiancé and 3 more very pissed off soul reapers plus 4 Quincy will begin tearing the underworld apart one piece at a time. We informed you of our feelings the day we met you and that still stands. I will inform Ichigo of this when he returns and you will inform them and every other noble house that my family and I are off limits because if I or any member of my family are approached by one more devil, regardless of what house they are from, I will leave a trail of dead bodies in my wake. I hope I am making myself clear about Surziches Lucifer. Slam. Iruchi said as she slammed the phone down. Surziches office 5 minutes later. Grafia we're going to the underworld to see Lord and Lady Phoenix get out of that maid's outfit and into something more appropriate. Surziches said. 5 minutes later, they were in the underworld at the Phoenix mansion. Lord and Lady Phoenix we need to talk, would you contact your son Riser please? Surziches asked. Certainly Lucifer-sama and you are right we do need to talk. Lord Phoenix said. When Riser finally arrived, Surziches asked, Riser, do you have any idea what you just did? All I tried to do was invite her into my peerage. Riser said. I am sorry Riser, but she paints a very different picture. Lady Shihoin called me right after the incident and told me what you did or tried to do, she was quite angry. She threatened war with the underworld if you ever came near her or anyone she cared about ever again, and she has the power to back it up. I already tried to get her to join my peerage, and she refused, as did her companions. Lady Shihoin is engaged and she saw what you did as a violation and an intrusion into her private life. She threatened to kill you if you ever tried anything like that again. Lady Shihoin also said that she will inform her fiancé of this incident and if you think for 1 minute that your parents or I can protect you from his wrath, you are dead wrong. He is stronger than I am. He could snap me in half like a twig without even trying. Surziches said. At that admission, Riser went pale. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh. Shit. I'm gonna die. Riser mentally screamed as he began to sweat. Lucifer-sama, we would like to meet this Lady Shihoin. If she is who I think she is, my idiot son got off easy. Lady Phoenix glaring at Riser for his stupidity. Very well Lady Phoenix, I will take you to her. Surziches said. As they were getting ready to leave, Serafol ran up to them along with Sona, Rias and their peerages. Surziches-chan, I hear there was some excitement involving Riser earlier if I ask what it was. Serafol said. Nothing much. Riser here made a complete fool of himself and nearly plunged us into a war we would have no hope of winning all because of his ignorance and stupidity. Surziches said. That isn't all that surprising Nai-sama, he always has been an arrogant and narcissistic fool. I hope you now understand why regardless of the outcome our rating game I will not marry him. I would sooner kill myself than let that fool touch me. Rias said, which shocked everyone, even Riser. What's wrong Riser, does the truth hurt? Sona said as Riser just looked as if his world just ended. You need not worry about that Rias. Due to his recent behavior, I have had our parents cancel your engagement. However, the rating game will continue as a form of punishment for Riser. I have chosen a champion to fight against him either one-on-one or Riser can use his entire peerage against him, it makes little difference. Surziches said. Rias, what have I done to make you feel this way? Riser asked. What have you done? Rias said, shocked that he would ask such a question. Well, let's see, you're selfish, arrogant, and narcissistic. Basically you care only about yourself. You treat women like objects for you to possess or toys for you to play with, and rumor has it that you are not only extremely abusive to your peerage to the point where your queen Ubeluna is completely submissive towards you, and you sleep with nearly every woman you get into your bed. Is that enough or should I continue? Rias stated before turning her back on him. After that outburst, they all disappeared in a magic circle and soon reappeared in front of Ichigo's penthouse suite. Surziches stepped up and rang the doorbell, ding dong. Kukaku came to the door dripping wet and wearing a red and black two-piece string bikini. Hello Surziches, to what pleasure we have. She said standing there as she crossed her arms under her huge DD. And yes, before Orihime died, she restored Kukaku's missing arm. We are actually here to see Yoruchi. Can you get her for us Kukaku-san? Surziches replied as Unohana walked in wearing a sky blue bathrobe as she had just gotten out of the shower as she still had a towel hanging around her neck. Yeah, I'll get her, she's on the deck outside her room sunbathing. You must be Riser. You really pissed her off kid, you are lucky you left here with your head. I'm pretty sure if she had lost control of her temper you'd be dead right now, wait here I'll be right back. Kukaku said. Just then, everyone heard the angelic voice of Yuichiro Unohana, you must be Riser Phoenix. Yes I am. He replied. Just then, she disappeared in a blur of speed so fast no one could keep up and reappeared right in front of him, so everyone present could see the murderous grin on her face. She had one of her signature throwing knives at Risers and said, what you did took balls, and I will admit you've certainly got a huge pair, but pull another stunt like that again, and I will personally dissect you before sending what's left of you back to your parents in a shoebox, understand Phoenix-san? She told him with an aura that said move and you die. She turned around and left as Yoruchi came in, took one look at Riser and lost it. Riser? She yelled as she went so high that everyone who was not an ultimate class devil or higher could hardly breathe. She backed off when she saw two devils on the ground that she recognized she had not seen them in 40 years. Minerva, Holt, is that you? She asked. As they raised their heads so she could see. Yes Yoruchi, it's us. They replied, what are you doing in Kuoh? They asked. We are just passing through on our way to Kyoto. Yoruchi replied as she gave both of her old friends a hug. We heard our son tried to force you into his peerage this afternoon. Minerva said. Yes. Wait, that conniving little twerp is your kid. Well, that is surprising. Yoruchi said. Oh. In what way? Holt asked. Well, considering the fact that whenever you and Minerva came to Karakura to visit you were always kind, considerate, and perfect gentlemen. Riser is the exact opposite of you, so much so in fact that I almost killed the little bastard on principle. Yoruchi said, giving Riser a glare. Riser Phoenix. I have already informed my fiancé of your behavior, and he said that he is looking forward to a nice long chat with you and Surziches when he returns. If I were you, I would be on my best behavior and try not to screw anything else up between now and then, if you know what is good for you. The only reason I do not destroy you here and now is that your parents and I have been close friends for many years. I suggest you keep that in mind and thank your parents later, they just saved your life. Yoruchi said. Riser was as white as a sheet at what she just said and simply nodded his head as he was afraid to speak. Flashback. In the underworld, Ichigo's phone was vibrating. Buzz. Buzz. He was fortunate that Kisuke merged his smartphone with a soul pager before the war really got started, saying he would need it, and he was right, he did need it. In the weeks leading up the end of the war, Ichigo had gone on many covert ops missions with Soifun and Yoruichi to gather intel on Aizen's and Ichigo's forces and what they were up to, and he learned to always keep his phone on vibrate as a result. "Hello," Ichigo said. "Hello, Ichigo," Yoruichi said. The way she said it, he could tell something was wrong. "Hey kitten. You alright?" he replied. Physically yes, mentally no. "When are you coming home? I miss hugging my strawberry," she said playfully. "What happened?" he asked. "We had one of the local devils stop by and he practically tried to force me into his peerage. He put his foot in the door so I couldn't close it and then he tried to force me through trickery. He said that if I had a duel with him and won he would leave me and our family alone, but if he won I would become his servant. Since you know me pretty well I am sure you can guess what my response was," she said. "Yeah. I am sure, you kicked his ass and sent him packing with his tail between his legs. But should you see him again make sure you voice my displeasure to both him and Surzich's and that we will be having a nice long chat when I return," Ichigo said. "I will, but please hurry, the girls and I are awfully cold at night without our strawberries to keep us warm," she said. "I will. It shouldn't be too much longer, maybe another 2 days, 3 at the most," Ichigo replied. "Okay Ichigo. Just promise me you will be careful Ichigo. I love you," Yoruichi said. "I will. Give Unohana, Kukaku, Yoru and my sisters a hug and a kiss for me and I will see you all in a few days. I love you Yoruichi," he replied as he ended the call. Flashback end. "Yoruichi, I am truly sorry for my son's actions this afternoon, it will not happen again, will it Riser?" Minerva said. "No mother, it will not happen again," he replied as his parents, sister and older brother were glaring at him. "See that it doesn't Riser, or next time I won't be as forgiving," Yoruichi said. As their get-together was coming to an end in the underworld, Ichigo's mission was about to officially begin. "Well, no time like the present, let's get this started so I can get home to my family and a warm bed," Ichigo thought. "I guess we will have to wait and see," Zangetsu said. "In the cave." "Well, this is unexpected," Ichigo said. "In what way?" a voice shouted in the distance. "Well, I wasn't expecting to find such a large open area in such a place," Ichigo replied. "Ah. Therefore, you think my cave is small, do you? Well, let me tell you, the outside of the cave is based on your perception, nothing more. The inside is an entirely different matter, as I control it," the voice said. "And you are?" Ichigo asked. "That would be cheating Ichi-kun. To simply give you my name would defeat the purpose of your being here. I am Kyoka Suigetsu. I will tell you my name once you have earned it. Kyoka has told me that you prefer to earn knowledge rather than having it given to you, so will need to earn my name," the voice said. "How do I earn your name?" Ichigo asked. "That is simple Ichi-kun. You must prove to me that you can fight with instincts and not emotion, and then you must make me submit and accept me into your soul completely, something Aizen was unable to do," the voice said. Just then, there were illusions of not only everyone he loved standing before him with blades drawn, but also his enemies. Ichigo was at a loss for words, he was expected to fight his friends and loved ones as well as his enemies. He no longer cared about getting a new at this point, but if that is what was required then so be it. And for the purpose of this chapter the illusion shall be referred to as red person's name. "You idiot, what are you moping around for? You've got a fight to win and a to attain, so let's get to it," Red Rukia said. "I know that rocks, but it's not that easy. I am expected to fight against someone I love and defeat them, illusion or not, it isn't easy. Nor should you expect it to be Ichigo Kurosaki. You are here to attain something that I could not and I expect nothing less from you. Kyoka Suigetsu will not permit a weakling little bitch like you to wield her. You must prove your worth in order to attain her, and you will do just that even if we have to beat into you exactly what that means," Red Aizen said. Ichigo took a deep breath and asked, "Any particular order these illusions have to die in?" "No, Ichigo, there is no particular order." "Why do you ask?" The sword spirit replied, "Why do you ask?" "No reason," Ichigo said as he flashed away and cut down Red Aizen, Iwich, Uryu, Ryakan, and the other Sturmerders that showed up as well as Yami, Noitra, and Grimjo. "Very good Ichi-kun, you cut them down with no emotion whatsoever, but I sense you used logic to formulate a plan of attack," the sword spirit said. "Well, yes and no. Before, I forged Zangetsu using my inner hollow, or the being I found out to be the true Zangetsu later on told me that I used logic to fight my enemy, and it never worked, so in essence I was cutting them with a sheathed sword. I found out later, despite how much I really didn't want to agree with him, that he was right, so from then on I developed my own unique fighting style that was the purest mix of both logic and instinct, and that is how I've fought ever since." Considering the opponents we went up against towards the end of the war, coming up with my own unique fighting style saved my life more than once. Ichigo said. Excellent Ichi-kun. Kyoka said you were talented, but to come up with something like that on your own shows not only talent, but also wisdom and knowledge of oneself and your limitations, something that Aizen himself never displayed. The sword spirit said. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Ichigo said, getting a genuine smile from the sword spirit. However, Ichi-kun, my question is this. Why destroy the illusions of most of your former enemies and leave Korea-jin and Shusuke Amagai? The sword spirit asked. Well, for two reasons, the first being that I consider this to be hallowed ground and they have no right to be here, an illusion or not. The second is that I actually respect Korea and Shusuke as warriors, but I also see them as victims of the arrogance and corruption that lies within the shadows of the government and nobility of the Soul Society. Plus, I always wanted to spar against them just for kicks and giggles, which is something I never got to do. Ichigo said, which earned him a smile from the spirit and the remaining illusions. Well then, let the spar begin, Ichigo Kurosaki. Red Korea shouted as he charged Ichigo. The spar with Red Korea and the other illusions lasted for what seemed like hours, with neither Ichigo nor the illusions giving an inch. Finally, the spirit decided she had seen enough, drew her blade and rushed toward Ichigo, which he saw in advance, and allowed her to run him through, fully accepting her blade, which brought not only a smile to her face, but tears to her eyes, as she finally had a master worthy of her power. Ichigo, I am so proud of you. I have waited so long for a master worthy of wielding me, and that master is you. My full and true name is Ikkyur no Dot. Twilight Goddess Mirror, my powers are the same as Kyoka's, only greatly amplified, but you also have access to another more powerful illusionary technique called Ion no, or Eternal Playground. The ability allows you to trap your enemy in an eternal illusion that your will controls, and only you can release them from. I have also made friends and loved ones that are immune to the effects of my release as well. There are two other techniques available to you, one defensive and one offensive, that you now have access to that work in either or. The defensive technique is called Kureami no Tater Shield of Darkness. It's a shield that blocks all incoming attacks, and the offensive technique is called Nichibatsu no Ha, or Sunset Moon Blade. It is a slash attack not unlike Yotsuga Tenshu and just as powerful. It is to be used with caution, as a single slash can wipe everything within 7 miles, depending on how much energy you put into it. Now go to Ichigo, your trial is over and Zangetsu is waiting for you, Azumi Yugra no said as she disappeared, and the blade in Ichigo's chest was absorbed into his body. The first thing Ichigo noticed once the blade was absorbed was the change to the blade in his hands, his clothes and hair. His hair was now longer, a deep shade of purple, and stopped at his tailbone. The blade was now dark blue with the kanji for Twilight Goddess Mirror etched across the blade in silver. The blade was 75% the total length of Zangetsu's and had silver tsuba with dark blue crescent moon engravings in each corner. His shihakusha was now a deep midnight blue, the color of twilight. His eyes were the most prominent change, instead of the warm cinnamon brown they were now a deep shade of emerald green. Ichigo had discovered quite quickly that Kyoka Suigetsu had 3 colors she loved, and she reflected that. As Ichigo left the cave, he saw him standing next to Zangetsu and was instantly confused. It's okay Ichigo, I can see you are confused. I was always out here waiting for you, the version of me that was giving you your trial was nothing more than an illusion. I am sorry for the deception, but it was necessary to make sure you were worthy to wield me. I'm happy to say that you proved yourself worthy to wield my blade, something that not even Aizen accomplished. You should be proud of yourself. I know I am proud of you. Now go forth Ichigo Kurosaki and wield me with the courage, honor and dignity that I have come to expect from you. Ikkyur did not say or Yu-chan, as Ichigo would soon call her. Thank you, Yu-chan. Ichigo said as she smiled at the new nickname that he gave her. I hope you like the new look of Ichigo Kurosaki. The long hair was your Hollow's and Kyoka's influence. Another spirit decided to make herself known. Who are you? Ichigo asked. It isn't surprising that you don't recognize me, as I have not spoken since merging with you. My name is Kesso, but you knew me once as the Dot. I decided to change my name, and Kesso was the name I picked for myself. She said, and Kesso means crystal. Yeah, it's fine, I wasn't expecting long deep purple colored hair, but I can deal. Ichigo said. By the way, why haven't you said anything until now? Ichigo asked. I was busy regaining my power. Aizen used quite a bit of it and I was unable to speak to you until I regained my strength. With regards to my power, I have fully merged with your soul, however, through you my powers will not have the same effect on you as they did with Aizen. My merging with your soul will not put others in danger like they did when I was merged with Aizen. Instead they will be innocuous, and you will not gain immortality from me as Aizen did. I shall instead use my powers to heal any wound you receive instantly, protect you from all poisons, and stop your aging. I shall also bestow these same gifts upon all your lovers, as well as your sisters and children when they come of age. Now do as Yu-chan instructed and get some rest. We will talk more when you wake. Kesso said. Ichigo yawned, sealed his and left to get some rest. Ichigo hit a stroke of luck last night and found a cave to sleep in that directly faced the compound where his targets were staying and noticed something odd. There were strangely dressed individuals coming and going. They had wings that weren't that of devils, but instead were black feathered wings. He decided to step back into the cave just far enough so that the light from his phone couldn't be seen and give away his position and call Surziches. I have a question. Ichigo said. Okay, I might have an answer. He replied. I am looking at the compound where the devils you want captured are located. The Asterith kid is nowhere to be found. However, I am seeing some individuals down there that have black feathered wings. What do you know about this? I don't want to go in there and accidentally slice up allies. Ichigo said. I understand your concern. Those are fallen angels and know if they are hanging around a Chaos Brigade compound they are not allies. I'll send you the information on the ones we know are enemies. Surziches said. A few moments later Ichigo received the information via teleportation circle. Ichigo, tell me if any of them you see match the information in the files I sent you. Surziches said. Okay, just a sec. Ichigo replied. Yeah, I see Kakabiel, Rainer, Kalwarner, Donaseek and Middle, they are all here. Do you want me to take them out as well? Ichigo asked. Stand by, Ichigo, I've got to call Azazel, leader of the fallen angels, and ask permission for you to engage them. Don't do anything yet, I'll call you back. Surziches said. Okay Surziches, but don't make me wait too long. I want to get this over with so I can get back to my family. Ichigo said as he ended his conversation with Surziches. As Ichigo waited for Surziches to call him back, he read through the information on the fallen angels he was sent. Surziches' office, Kuoh town. Hello Azazel, you and I need to meet right now. It's important. Surziches said. Okay, I'll be right there. Azazel replied, and a few seconds later he teleported into Surziches' office. What did you wish to say about the Surziches? Azazel asked. I currently have Ichigo Kurosaki temporarily as my employee and he has seen these fallen angels within an enemy camp working with them freely. Surziches said. Ichigo Kurosaki. Where the hell did you find him? Azazel asked as he looked at the file. He was actually passing through and I asked him for help. I actually tried to make him a member of my peerage, but he and his companions actively refused. Surziches said. Man, you lost a ringer with that one. So what exactly are you asking? Azazel asked. I want to know if Ichigo can engage them and bring them in for disciplinary action. Surziches asked. Sure, I see no reason why not, capture or kill, it makes no difference to me, as long as they are out of my hair he can do whatever he wants with them. Azazel said. Thank you Azazel. I'll let him know. Surziches said. Oh, before I go to Surziches, I heard that Asterith kids are here in Kuoh town. I don't know for certain what has caught his interest, but there is a rumor that it's two little girls with the last name of Kurosaki. If they are any relation to Ichigo, you might want to let him and his family know about it. Azazel said. I will Azazel, thanks. Surziches said. Back in the underworld. Buzz. Hello. Ichigo said. You have a green light, Azazel said. You can either capture or kill them, it is up to you as long they are out of his hair, he doesn't care. Surziches said. Ichigo grinned and said, thanks Surziches, that is all I needed to hear. Ichigo ended the call and disappeared in a flash of dot. Ichigo dropped into the middle of the compound with Zangetsu already drawn, much to the surprise of everyone there. Who are you? Kakabiel asked. The name's Ichigo Kurosaki and I were sent here to capture you and send you back to Surziches, Lucifer and Azazel, or if you prefer I could just kill you. Ichigo replied. Is Ichigo Kurosaki the man that defeated Sasuke-san? A lone fallen angel asked. Yes, I am. Now are you going to surrender or not? Ichigo replied. No way in hell are we going to let you drag us back to those bastards. Kateria killed him. Kakabiel shouted. With pleasure. She said. Ichigo sighed and said, alright guys, I was trying to give you the easy way out, but you chose not to take it, your funeral. Ichigo said. AHHH. Bankai. Rage across the heavens. Tensa Zangetsu. Ichigo shouted as his Ryatsu skyrocketed. The Chaos Brigade members halted their assault as they sensed the power coming from Ichigo continued to increase and crash down on them. All over the underworld Ichigo's power could be felt, some people were scared, some were intrigued, and some wanted a new peerage member and began to make their way to the source of the power. When they made their way there, they could see a group of devils and fallen angels standing around a young man, as if they were waiting for him to make the first move. The young man was dressed in garments like none had seen before and holding an extremely long nadachi that was almost 62 inches long, solid white, with a solid black stripe going up the middle of the blade, plus 4 spikes along the spine of the blade, giving it a second cutting edge and a nasty inward-facing curve at the tip. The guard was 2 crescent moons facing each other, one white and one black. The hilt was white with black diamond shapes and had an 8-inch black chain attached. The garments he was wearing were a wide open trench coat with black tufts of fur around the neck and bottom of the coat. He had long black hair just above the back of his knees, black bandage-like material on both his arms and torso, and covering his mouth and nose which heavily defined his muscles, 2 white horns, one on either side of his head, and blood-red eyes. In the blink of an eye he disappeared and reappeared, a second later with his blade covered in blood standing over his dead opponents. DCH. It never ceases to amaze me how many times people underestimate me. Ichigo said to no one in particular. About this time, Azazel and the Satans showed up. Completely dumbfounded by what they had just seen, but also to tell Ichigo some unfortunate news. "Surzich's Ani-sama, please tell me I'm dreaming," Rias asked. "I'm afraid not, Rias-chan, your champion and future fiancé if you wish, just cut down some of the underworld's most powerful warriors in less than a minute," Surzicha said as he noticed his sister ogling Ichigo. "What do you mean my fiancé?" Rias asked. "Just that, Rias. When I hired him, I offered you as part of the payment and he refused. He said he would only accept you if it were something you yourself wished for. He would not force you into it, saying that his mother raised him to be a gentleman. Ichigo's current lovers even said that they did not mind sharing him with you as long as he loved everyone equally," Surzicha said. "Is this something you would consider?" he asked. "Yes, Nai-sama, it is, but I would have to see him without all that armor on him. And what do you mean by current lovers?" Rias replied. "Well, Amado, he currently has 3 very attractive fiancés. I think you'd like them. I would feel much safer if you were with him than that pervert Issei Haidu that you are always hanging around. Do not get me wrong, I have nothing against Issei-kun, but it irritates me how he constantly sticks his nose where it does not belong. Your friend Akeno seems to have a crush on him, so let her have him," Surzicha said. "You are right, Nai-sama, Issei can be a pervert, but he is my friend. I cannot and will not abandon my friends without just cause. That isn't how the Gremory family behaves, but I will give you credit, this Ichigo person is more my type than Issei is," Rias said. About this time everyone was standing around Ichigo with a hungry look in their eyes, with chess pieces in their hands, wanting him to join a peerage. Even Sona Citri of the Citri clan came forward and asked him to join her peerage. "Excuse me, Mr. Kurosaki would like to join my peerage?" Sona asked. "Please don't take this the wrong way, young lady, but my answer to you and everyone else here is no. Joining your peerage or anyone else's for that matter not only goes against my beliefs, but it would not be conducive to my own goals," Ichigo said. "But why won't you join a peerage? If you did you'd probably be an ultimate class devil from the start and have your own peerage almost immediately," one very arrogant female devil said. "Well, my reasons are simple. I have my own responsibilities that I have to take care of, and becoming a devil would force me to put those on the back burner, all in an effort to placate the already overly swelled pride and arrogance that some of you undoubtedly already have. I have also heard that unlike the Citri and Gremory clans, most of you treat reincarnated devils like slaves, toys for you to play with and throw away after you've broken them. I for one, don't tolerate that kind of disrespect from anyone, regardless of who they are. In fact, if I did join a peerage, the first one of you to treat me like that I'd probably kill," Ichigo said. Just before Surzichas could tell him the news regarding his sisters, a very haughty and arrogant voice made its presence known. "You will join a peerage, boy, or I will have you and your family killed," an old man from the crowd exclaimed. "And just who the hell are you, and what gives you the right to tell me what I will or won't do?" Ichigo asked. "I am Zekrom Bale, the true king of the underworld, and you will do as you're told or else," Zekrom said. "And why are you the true king?" Ichigo asked. "Because the Bale clan has the purest bloodline of all devils. We were the first clan to be created by the original Lucifer with the title Prince, and since his demise, I rule over the underworld. I am 10,000 years old, I have more power than Genryusai, Aizen and Iwich combined. I suggest you do as you're told, boy, or I will order your sister's execution," Zekrom said. Ichigo's blood was running cold at that last statement, but he was more than a little surprised at the names he mentioned. "What did you do to Karen and Yuzu?" he shouted. "They are currently my guests. What happens to them depends on you, boy," Zekrom said. "Well, I wasn't going to do this, but I see you've left me no choice," Ichigo said. "But as soon as you've joined ... but Zekrom didn't get to finish his statement as he was cut off. "No, you old bastard, I won't be joining any peerage today, but I will kill you unless you tell me where my sisters are," Ichigo said. "And how do you plan on doing that with so little energy?" Zekrom asked. Oh, that's easy, you see bastard, I didn't need to release my to beat those idiots. I could have beaten them with an ordinary blade, but I chose to use my because I didn't want them to suffer needlessly. I chose to be merciful and kill them quickly. You see, my true power is currently sealed, but I can release the seal at any time, as you are about to find out. Ichigo said as he released the seal, Gente Kaiho. Just then, Ichigo's energy flared to unimaginable heights, weighing them down, keeping them all pinned to the ground, and then as quickly as it appeared it just vanished. To say that Zekrom and everyone else was shocked would be an understatement. So old man, now that you know that you have absolutely no chance against me, you will tell me where my sisters are, or I will make your death as slow and painful as possible. Ichigo said. I hired the Astaroth brat to kidnap them and take them away. Zekrom said. Where did you take them? Ichigo asked. Kyoto. Zekrom answered. Oh boy, you really are stupid. Kyoto is my grandmother's territory. Ichigo replied. Your grandmother? Just who are you, boy? Zekrom asked. My name is Ichigo Kurosaki, demi-primordial son of the Greek primordial god Uranos, and major Shinto goddess Misaki, grandson of Amaterasu and Takamim Yasubi on my mother's side, and the primordial gods Lord Abyss and Lady Chaos on my father's side. I would hope and pray that neither my parents nor grandparents discover what you've done, old man, otherwise the end of the Bale family is assured. Ichigo said just as his phone rang. Hello. We just found Yuzu and Karen in a hotel room with Diodora Astaroth, and they were tied up. Is there something you want to tell me? Amaterasu said. Oh yeah, about that grandma, some old fucker named Zekrom Bale had them kidnapped to try and force me into a peerage in order to keep tabs on me. Ichigo said. He did what? You tell that boy I'm on my way. He is well overdue for an ass chewing. Amaterasu said and hung up the phone. Just then there was a flash of light as Amaterasu flashed to the underworld, gave her grandson a hug, and sent Zekrom a glare that would have made Lucifer and the god of the Bible both shit their pants. The power she was giving off and the look in her eyes told everyone there that this was not a woman they should fuck with, and so they gave her a wide berth. Amaterasu walked up to Zekrom, looked him dead in the eye, and punched him in the face so hard it sent him cartwheeling across the landscape. You dare kidnap my granddaughters and threaten my grandson with their safety if he doesn't join a peerage. How stupid can you be, you ignorant little brat? You may indeed be the oldest devil in the underworld, but I am far older and more powerful than you are. I figured that you would have learned your place by now, but I guess I was wrong. For your transgressions against my family, I sentence you an undetermined amount of time in a Shinto prison. Your powers will be sealed, and you will not see your family or anyone you love for the term of your sentence. You should consider yourself lucky that it was me and not my husband that came here, otherwise the underworld would be wiped out, and every single being that lives here, devil and fallen angel alike, would be dead or dying. Amaterasu said. How can you do this? You have no authority over me. I was only attempting to maintain the status quo. It is our duty to maintain the balance of the world. Zekrom exclaimed. It is not your responsibility to maintain the balance, that duty falls to the gods and their representatives, which you are neither, guards. Amaterasu shouted as the guards flashed in. Yes, Lady Amaterasu, you summoned us. They replied. Yes. Take this arrogant old man to our prison, seal his powers, throw him in the deepest darkest hole, where no one will ever have to see his ugly face again, and let him rot. She shouted. Yes, Lady Amaterasu. They said and vanished. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the FANFICLOVER 2017 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.